Welcome, Andrzej, and let us know a little bit about yourself.
Thank you for having me. I think your show is amazing. Your mission to help people and grow daily by your mistake is truly inspiring. So I'm glad to be here. I would label myself as a sage due to the things that I can see, I can feel, and I can hear. Due to that forced me on this journey of becoming an expert in how the mind works, how the subconsciousness works, and how we can transcend easily what is limiting us, our beliefs, our emotions, to become the person that we need in order to achieve our goals.
Mhm. Give us a little insight what you can see.
People, people, all of their environment is result of their thoughts and emotions. And usually when they want to achieve things and they keep trying and trying, it seems it's out of their reach. Even when they have their best intentions, it's like headbutting a wall. Sometimes intentions are not enough. It's because the system that we have built in internally that might have been passed to us within the genes, that might have been conditioned by the society or to our experiences, is keeping us in check. It's like this cage that keeps us locked within, and there is not even a keyhole for that cage to open. So my specialty is to identify those blocks, identify the cause of those blocks, and allow them to dissolve, to make space for things that allow us to grow.
Mhm. Right? That's amazing. And as you said about the conditioned life, what do you think? What's the difference between conditioned and oneself, one true self?
How do you define one true self?
That's exactly I want to know from you because the conditioned we know that the society, our family, our parents, our own self and studies can program us. But who is oneself?
If you look from that perspective, we have the mind, we have the body, and those are tools for our soul to experience oneself. So then it depends on the question how those tools are used. If we allow the mind to use us, for example, if we allow the programs in the computer within our head to have faulty programs through which we experience the reality in a way that is not serving us, then we allow the mind to use us. And the soul, is taking a backseat on this journey through life, which all of us don't want. All of us want to be happy, want to be fulfilled. And that can only happen when you discard what is not serving you. It is similar to owning a garden when you cultivate the great plants that eventually will give you fruits. But if you allow the weeds to grow, there will be no fruits. So you weed out the weeds and you allow the plants to grow. It's very similar with the mind. You identify what is not longer serving you, you dissolve that, and you make the space for what is serving you. For example, many entrepreneurs have started this journey because they were lacking in self-esteem and they had to prove their worth to the world. And eventually, if they have been successful, they realize that it's within them. And my work with modalities operate on something that Taoists have found countless years ago. And just to give you some context, I have been studying modalities from the West to the East. I meditated over 7,000 hours. I don't think there's a modality that I don't know. And the closer you get to the source, the less it has any pollutions created by the mind and the more effective it is. Obviously, there is this effect called placebo, self-fulfilling prophecy, or confirmation bias. It basically means faith. The more you believe in the process, the better results it will yield. Anyway, Taoists have found that all of our internal organs resonate with emotions, with negative emotion and positive emotion. For example, self-esteem, anxiety, worthiness are emotions of the spleen. And those emotions either can be a result of a bad lifestyle, of something that has been passed through us, or something that we have been conditioned to believe. So the only way is to dissolve those emotions and transform them into positive traits of the spleen, which is the fairness, openness. And once those emotions are transformed, it's literally like life organically give you all those opportunities that you have been looking for, and you don't even have to look for. It comes to you. I literally taught 2 or 3 days about promoting my office with influencers. And 2 days ago, I was training Tai Chi in the hotel room, not in the hotel room. I was training Tai Chi in the lobby. And guess what? I met a person that works with influencers, and we're going to work out a deal. So I didn't do nothing. I allowed it to came to me by dissolving my internal blocks. It's very, once you get the hang of it, you realize that the issue, that the reason why you are not achieving your goals is the person that is front of your mirror. It is you. So by searching deep within, you will be able to find the reasons why there were blocks. And by dissolving those blocks, usually it's about money, it's about health, it's about relationships. Organically, your life will become better, and organically your life will give you those things that you will lacking, and you will not need to go anywhere.
Right. So, two questions here. How to find out those blocks and how to get rid of it?
Well, easily you can come work with me, but I'm not the only person that works in this manner. Let's say the first step, like let's assume you're driving a car. If you're not looking left, if you're not looking right, if you're not looking to the front or the back, you might end up in a river and you won't know how that happened. So awareness is #1 step. I recommend you take a journal and you start observing your thoughts and emotions. That may take a while, but eventually you will find a pattern. You will find some thoughts are reoccurring, some emotions are reoccurring, and you need to ask yourself truthfully, are those emotions or thoughts serving me? And just a note on thoughts, most of the thoughts are reoccurring that we have throughout the day. Even if you have about 50 or 60,000 thoughts per day, around 90% of those thoughts are reoccurring, which leads us to the same actions, same experiences, same character, and essentially the same reality. So in order to achieve new things, we need to change the way we think and change the way we feel. And what was the second question?
How to get rid of them?
Countless ways, countless modalities. I work with something that is called internal alchemy of Tao. So to explain, for example, we know what is the example of negative traits of spleen, and we know what's positive elements of the spleen. So the technique that can be used is, for example, cosmic healing sound. The sound that resonates with the spleen is called hu, hu, and there are many philosophies that work with sounds, like from yoga, but these sounds relate to the energy centers that are called the chakras. In this aspect, this is yielding from traditional Chinese medicine, and they found that this sound just moves the energy within the spleen. Ideally, you don't want to say the word, you want that sound to vibrate within your spleen, which will move the energy. So the process is very simple. You need to wrap your hands. Ideally, you want to visualize your spleen, how it looks, where it's located. You start communicating with it. And if you're a very logical person, for example, ideally, you want to reach a meditative state, and countless ways to reach that. You can just start counting backwards, like 10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. And you're getting deeper and deeper into calmer state of the mind. You inhale and you exhale. And with each inhale and exhale, you're reaching a deeper and deeper state of the mind. And your awareness increases. And with that increased awareness, you start observing your spleen. And you are searching for anything that is out of order, for anything that causes you anxiety and just makes you worry. And you just delete that. Color that resonates with the spleen is color yellow. So if you find something that is not yellow, it's usually something that is wrong with the spleen. And the spleen, from that perspective, is responsible for the digestive processes, according to traditional Chinese medicine. What's important that it is a system, not an organ, and it relates to many other things. So let's say you see some blackness in the spleen that might be a result of incorrect lifestyle, because there is this layer around the organs that collects the heat. And it has been found that many patients that have died of heart attack, their hearts looked like they have been boiled. So this heat is a result of unhealthy lifestyle, and those fascia around the organs collects that heat. And by clearing that heat, you do something amazing for the organs. It is a basis why, for example, Shaolin monks and pretty much practitioners of traditional Chinese medicine lives easily up to 100 years, and not even mentioning the people that find this system, the Taoists, they live very, very long. Some tales even say 200, 300 years, because they have been living up to the expectation of nature. So we do this process, and ideally you want to coordinate it with nature. So there are other sounds that you go through, starting with the lungs, then your kidneys, and then your liver, then your heart, and then ideally your spleen. Because once you move energy, most likely it will go somewhere else. It's very important to note, we have practices like acupuncture or acupressure, and people are aware that it's working, but it's the tip of the iceberg. We don't see what's underneath. And if we, for those of your audience that use more logical thinking, we can compare the energy, prana, chi, to the blood, to the flow. So if there is a blockage in blood flow, let's say in one of the vessels that is responsible, for example, for bladder, it goes from your little finger in your foot to the back of your legs, to the back of your back, eventually to your head and to these points. So if the blood is stopped, let's say at the little finger, and you work on that point using acupressure, it's gonna be stuck on the next point. So you want to move that energy to all the pathways so it's cleared. It's very similar with the process of cleansing the organs, because the organ never works alone. Everything works together. This is no different. So if we move the energy from the spleen, it most likely will go to kidneys, and then it will manifest as fizz. So we need to dissolve the fizz. But usually how it operates, that the results are so much worth it. Just one session of this technique resolves so many blocks. and the life, not only my life, but many people that I have used this organically becomes better, and you don't have to search for the things that you have been yearning for. They come to you. First of all, believing the process works. And then once you see the process works and your life actually gets better and you don't have to do anything and it's very easy, you start to believe so much more, you do so much more, and then you get so much more results. So it's like a snowball effect. But it all starts with the first step.
Right. So what exactly is the traps of growth and traps of mind?
Traps of growth. It depends what you want to grow. If you have a garden, do you want to grow weeds or do you want to grow plants? Usually people want to grow the spirit, and it's a really bad approach because you cannot grow the spirit, as you cannot force a flower to bloom. Flowers bloom in due time. So what people do when they want to grow the spirit is they grow their ego and they force themselves to meditate, which people don't talk about, could have some serious consequences. Because first of all, if you're gonna sit in prolonged period of time without moving, it's gonna impact the flow of your blood. So you need to massage your body before and after meditation. And meditation is a tool that will amplify the state that you're currently in. So if you're anxious, if you're depressed, you should not meditate because you would be even more anxious or depressed. That is, for example, one trap, that we think that we can speed up the process, but by speeding up the process, we slow down the process. And if you really think about people wanting to grow spirituality, and once you start observing the reason why they do that, it's very simple. People use spirituality as a coping mechanism to escape from reality. Instead of facing their challenges head on, they prefer to escape, to meditate, to do yoga. And by doing that, their spirit decreases. And it's funny because just imagine, you cannot, it's like you're a dancer and you go to dance and you dance magnificently. People around you are impressed, they have a great time. But once you start to second guess your choices, once you start to overthink, overanalyze, you get petrified, you freeze, and you make a mistake, you stumble and you fall. You either dance or you think about dancing. And you either live or you think about living. This is the same process because you cannot go left and right at the same time. People think that they do good for themselves, actually do wrong by themselves. The only way to find easiness in life is to do hard things. So the only way to find the light is to go through the shadows, because this world is based on duality. Jesus used to say that the last will be the first and the first will be the last. You could compare it that the day changes to the night and the night changes to the day. So if you go to the light, and that is the issue with many people that explore their spirituality, is that they find hate and darkness. And when you go to the darkness, do the hard work, you grind, you do what is required, eventually you will find the light. Your life will be completely different. But that takes courage, that takes motivation, and that is something hard. So people used to escape from those challenges. They don't want to face them. And mind plays those tricks all the time, because if you think about it, if the life that surrounds me is a result of my thoughts and emotion, it means my thoughts, my beliefs, my mindset impact greatly how I receive reality. So it's all within, and it's about identifying what serves me and what serves me not. If you go down that line, you realize that beliefs are restrictions that we put on ourselves and somehow we glorify them. Identify what's holding you back. Dissolve that, make space for something new, and the new will come to you organically. Like you cannot buy a new fridge if the old one is still sitting in the kitchen.
Right. So it's according to some motivational speakers, this is the vacuum law of the universe, that you have to get rid of something in order to bring a new in a state. So what about the mind? How to use the mind in favor of ourselves and not be used by.
It's a very good question, and you might not like the answer because mind is a tool. So if I use the mind, the tool correctly, I'm not gonna allow it to roam free and jump from thought to thought like a drunken monkey. If I'm thinking right now, what I'm gonna do in the evening, it's at 10 a.m., I allow my mind to roam freely. The way I can use my mind correctly at this stage is only to focus what I can say, how can I give the most value? And any other than that is my mind trying to use me. If I'm driving a car and I'm thinking what's gonna happen when I go home, if I'm gonna argue with my wife, if she cooked dinner already, the mind is using me and I'm not focusing on the street, on the situation, and that might result in issues, even in an accident. Using the mind is using it in the situation, in the scenario, in the environment that you're currently in and thinking, how can I improve it? How can I make the best of it? If you can't, for example, you're come home after the long hours of working and you want to watch TV, that's fine. If your mind is jumping from thought to thought, you cannot enjoy watching the TV and your mind is using you. It's if you understand truly and deeply that the mind or the emotions are tools for us to experience reality, then it will just happen and you can stop this process of fighting with yourself. And if you are able to process emotions, that's fine. But if you live through those emotions, somebody said something to you that made you angry, and then you carry that anger for many hours and you perceive reality through many hours, is that doing you any good? Probably not. Nobody likes to be angry. It's going to destroy your liver. It's going to cause you only pain and grief and sadness. But somehow we allow that to happen to us instead of just realizing, oh, this is using me. I need to step back and start observing those things. Ideally, if you're at that stage, you can put more focus on your surroundings. We have 5 senses, which we can use to become more rooted in the reality. So we can start observing what we can see, what we can hear, what we can smell, what we can taste. Usually it's some tastes that you can always taste, and what you could feel. Well, for example, I'm sitting on a chair and I feel that my body is pressing on the chair, and that makes you more grounded. That makes you more rooted in the reality. And by that, those conflicts of your mind using you or your emotions using you is gradually dissolving. And it's about experience.
So in here, you talked about the beliefs and observation. So which one is recommended by you, the belief or the observation, and how to use observation instead of belief?
If I would recommend belief, most of us are on different journeys, experiencing different things. What might serve you on part of your journey might not suit you on another part of your journey. If you're doing a triathlon and you just run, you're going for a bike and then you're supposed to swim, you're not gonna take bike with you for swimming. It's similar to going to reach a new city. You use signposts to get there, but once you get there and you want to go to another city, you need to discard those signposts that got you to the city. It's very similar to growth. You need to identify what is serving you and keep that. If it's not serving you and you don't want to take it, discard it. So there are people that are more logical and they understand life by logic. There are people that understand life by emotions. Who's right? Who's wrong? Most likely what they experience is true and real for them. But if you see from the lenses of nature, it's probably they are both wrong, because they experience what they want to experience, because the mind gives you what you want to experience. And just by measuring the results, you are impacting the final result. Just by observing something, you make it happen. So the first step is always about observing yourself. And through history, different philosophies, different religions found different ways to name that. In India, it's called Vipassana. It's art of observation, and it's art of being aware of dying. They have believed that once you die, the biggest karma, the biggest pain of your life comes to the surface. And if you are able to observe that it dissolves and your next incarnation is much better than this one, in traditional Chinese medicine circle, the Taoist, they call it Wu Wei, acting by not acting. When you have an empty mind, the possibilities of experiencing the universe are limitless. It's similar to saying that the cup can only be filled when it's empty. When it's full, you're only gonna spill the new drink that you're pouring in. All journeys are started with the first step. So just try. Most likely you will fail, but that's perfectly fine. By failing, you will learn and you will gain experience. So start observing how your feet feels. Are there any sensations in your feet? Is there anything going in your feet? And then go slowly up your ankles, to your knees, to your thighs, to your belly, and observe what is going in those locations. Because I can assure you, there is always something going on the cell level. There is distraction, there's creation pretty much every second. The Taoists believe that in 7 years and 8 years for women, the man is completely different. All cells have been changed. And by observing that, you know where you are going, you know who you are, and which direction you're currently taking, and if that is a right direction for you. Without awareness, how can you go where you're going? It's like going through a fog with a blindfold on your eyes. Best case scenario, you will trip. Worst case scenario, you will get killed, you will drown in the water. So awareness, and maybe just being mindful would be a good start. Maybe doing a course on meditation or breathing would be good. Then you would realize that the patterns of your emotions, of your thoughts are recurring, and it's always leading you to the same experiences. So you start noting them down. For example, today I have been angry 5 times. Let's see how many times I will be angry tomorrow. And you see 6 times. But through this process, you actually become aware that you have been more angry than you have realized. By observing, you dissolve those patterns. In Shaolin monasteries, they believe that spiritual awareness or mindfulness, what it's called in the West, dissolves karma, dissolve all patterns in the mind, because you no longer invest energy, your thoughts into the process. And since nothing lasts forever, without energy, it won't last. you have a car, you need to give it fuel if you want to drive longer. But if you don't give it fuel, if you don't tank, you won't be able to drive. The same is with the mind. The mind is similar to the computer. It processes information, it allows you to make decision, and just like a car, it drives on fuel. The fuel that the mind uses is electricity. Electricity, very slow current runs through the body, and depending on the currency of the electricity, your mind operates in different states. Mostly it's the state of the beta, which is approximately 20 hertz, protects the subconsciousness. And it's during the days apart from the morning and the evening, because when we wake up and when we go to sleep, our mind naturally reaches deeper state of the mind called alpha. That is why we are very prone for suggestions, for programming in the morning and in the evening. If you want to reprogram your mind, those are the best time that you could do. And even in some cases, affirmation might work. But if the affirmation doesn't match the state of your emotions, it will bounce back. That's why I work with energy that is a sum of thoughts and emotion. Because if you cleanse yourself of the emotion that you're not worthy, if that thoughts appear in your head, it will just bounce back. It won't have access to your mind, to your brain, to your computer. And if you put garbage in your computer, you would have garbage out.
That's very important. And can you let us know, like, how to manage that? Because sometimes affirmation works very well, and sometimes not. And when it bounces back, it means, as you said, the emotions are somewhat not the energy is not aligned with what we affirm. So what is the solution for it?
I don't necessarily work with affirmation, but if you want to work, that is perfectly fine. And if that works for you, that is also perfectly fine, because you need to find the means that are working for you. So using affirmation, as you said, the state is very important. If the state does not match, your mind will not believe what you're saying. So two ways: either get into the alpha state where your subconsciousness is very prone to suggestions, or match the energy charge, the chemicals that run through your vein, the emotion. So if you're not grateful, you won't be able to attach any thoughts with that particular emotion. But if you first feel this emotion of being grateful, it would be much easier to reprogram the mind.
Exactly.
Yes.
Right. That's right. Yeah. So you recommend, because some people practice affirmation when they have a good state of suggestive, like when they can accept suggestions, it's a good time to affirm themselves. You mean like this?
Correct.
And also, yeah, my next question is, what's the difference between logic and soul?
It's completely different. The logic or the mind is like parameters of the computer, parameters of the mind, of the brain, and that is the tool of the soul. So there are many tools. It's about identifying on what level of growth are you, because the soul wants to experience different things. That's perfectly fine. There is no worse or better experience. That's what souls wants to experience. And many people, me included, believe that all of our souls are sparks of this bigger consciousness that experience itself through us. So we're pretty much the same. We're all equal. We just have different perceptions about ourselves. When soul starts this journey, it's usually about survival. And guess what? Those people do not survive long. Then once they actually transcend that level, it's about having kids, prolonging the species. Guess what? They usually don't have kids. Then it's the logical mind, that it's about getting outside of your mind. realizing that the mind is not always right, and you cannot comprehend everything with the mind. So get beyond it. Usually people don't go beyond that. But once you transcend that level, it's about emotions, living by the heart. And people think that it's about love. It's about correct alignment of the heart within the body, within the heaven and earth. So you take life head on like this, because if you have your head in front of you, what will happen is you first will analyze what happened to you and then you will respond. But this will create a buffer between you and your life, because once you're ready to respond, the life is already changed. By using this, there is no buffer. You take life head on. And again, hate and love are only two emotions. You cannot experience yourself only using those two emotions. So when the soul is ready, it starts to experiencing itself through the vast array of emotions. It's very simple. You cannot eat only one type of food. If you eat only one type of food, you will get some health issues sooner or later, and most likely it will be very soon. Then the soul starts experiencing what is it through those emotions, and just maybe it will be ready to see what the reality truly is when it will go beyond the thinking, beyond emotion, and it would be completely aware in the body and what is going outside the body. And this window between the eyebrows will appear to see the reality for what it truly is when the soul takes peaks. And then there is the last stage where people can be born, when they truly realize that what's within is outside, and what's outside is manifestation of what's within. So they can literally change anything, that the life itself is just for them to experience themselves. And if they want to grow beyond that phase, they need to go of any attachments that they have. And I'm not talking things about your thoughts, your body. I'm talking things like letting go of attachment of your soul, because that takes charge. That, you're thinking about something, that's electricity running through your brain. You're feeling something about it, then you're not only creating electricity, but chemical charges that are released through emotions to your veins. So that is energy. And if you have those energy toward things, it will maybe allow it to go further, or it will keep you in lock. And if you have those attachments, Buddha always say that attachments always leads to pain, because those are expectation. And that is the last stage of learning that is in for the soul, that you just need to let go.
Very true and right. So there's a lot to learn, and I hope we will have another podcast on it. So thank you so much for answering a lot of questions. And now let us know, how can people find you and your work?
I'm very easy to find. I have a page called sageandy.com where you could schedule a meeting with me. I have a channel on YouTube called Golden Lama Show, where I interview people. Or you could just send me a DM on Facebook. My handle is Empath Catalyst, and we could do amazing work together. I have two offers currently. One is for highly sensitive people, where their biggest challenge is pretty much sponging negative emotions. When I teach that for free, so they can see it works. And then the main core of my offer is transcending those limiting beliefs and emotions. And that I work with pretty much everyone that is ready to transcend them and see the results in their own eyes, in their own heads, which is something truly amazing, because you don't really need to go anywhere. It comes to
Amazing. Thank you for serving people and other fellow humans and your great work. We appreciate it and hope to see you again. Have a great time.
Thank you for having me.